That's a good answer. We don't.
Can
And
I?
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Can I inject something right here? Um, when we think about, we have to look at this thing as society looks at it,
Mhm.
right? Our society is governed by men.
Yes.
Even though women, we're the majority, but you have to look at it. Men run this country.
Yeah.
And that is the problem right there. The men in control.
Yeah.
And it's a hard pill to swallow, but that's what time of day it is until the women step out of their, excuse me, quote unquote, bitchhood, because that's
Mhm.
what it, and come together as a unit. If we come together, there's nothing that we cannot. And how they get us is by making us feel as women we are not powerful. They chip and gnaw at our self-worth, but we do not
Amen.
understand that if we come together, forget about the thing about self-worth. When you come together, you prove not only to yourself, but the world as it is that, hey, we did not just come out of Adam's rib for nothing, but to be as powerful women. I watched this movie, what is that? Woman King. And that spoke to me because we are what makes this world. As the saying says, behind every powerful man is a dynamic force spirit woman that makes that man. So, what does that say to you? Without you, there would not be a powerful man.
Amen. Come on now.
But we need to keep in mind that we are indeed what was that man who sits high and call themselves running this world. You know, and I agree with them. I agree with you, Jim.
You know,
And
as a public official myself, um, I take the position in most cases, men have had the chance to do us right, and because of their greed and they thirst for power, they don't want to do us right. And we see that in this country
Exactly.
because men, and I'm talking about especially white men, because they were the one who owned land, and that's how they got their power of influence. And they women they couldn't vote, but now with the issue with white women is that they want black women to be part of their group, but they don't want black women issues in the forefront. And I have a problem with that.
All right, Miss Sandra, you're on? Uh-oh, Sandra, can you hear us?
I'm here.
Okay, you had your hand up.
No. I
Oh,
applauded what Rose's sister said. I
oh,
wasn't
okay.
going to raise my hand. I agreed with what she was saying, and I agree with everything that Anthony is saying. And we're back to the same thing. And in order to enjoy what freedoms or to ensure that, again, our grandchildren, great grandchildren, whatever, can enjoy some of the freedom that we have enjoyed since the Constitution, since Lincoln's Act, we have to do better. And again, it is not until we come together collectively. And I love what you call it, bitchism or whatever it is that they were doing.
Yeah.
How she gave it the name.
Uh-huh.
They have to get past that. But that too is a learned behavior. Just like
yeah,
Anthony was saying a moment ago, people who are in power, not only, they maintain power through various methods, and they use a variety of these methods while they're in control, to include to keep up dissension, and to also make sure, again, when it comes to a bunch of women getting together, many a time the person that breaks up or causes the biggest confusion in the group is not another woman. It is a man who is, again, trying to protect, or been told or been sent there to break that up. Go in there, do whatever you can do, and put a stop to this. And they use several methods, to include, if I got to remove somebody, that means fire them. If I got to cut off funding for something. I mean, the first time they get an inkling that you are about to make an impact on a particular issue, again, that a lot of women can relate to, be it black, white, green, yellow. And I agree, white women do not carry on our fight or our struggle because they don't know it. Right. They're put on a pedestal. We are rarely put on a pedestal. And if we are put on a pedestal, that's by the man that we're with, or maybe our father put us on a pedestal. We're not put on pedestals as they are. And that makes a big difference in how the world perceives us and how we perceive the world. But when you have women who are strong, who are intelligent, who are articulative, and who, again, don't mind standing up for their rights, they call them arrogant. They call them everything to make people not want to follow them. And then they take whatever step necessary to shut that woman down and to shut her up, or her whole group. Yeah. That has to stop. And we can do this because, again, as Black women, if we have to look back and turn back to what our mothers and our aunties did, there has always been a way and a workaround to get around in order to get what we need to do for our, like even for our kids. This is the same thing. Even though our kids might be adults, even though we might be looking at the grandkids, but at the same time, as long as we're still here on this earth, we need to try to make sure we can not only make it better for ourselves while we're here, but definitely make it better for the people that we're going to leave here. Because if you don't teach them to fight, and if they don't see the fight in us, they're not going to fight. They're going to have to wait for the next, and I hate to use the term because I respect Jesus, they're going to have to be looking for the next Messiah. Yeah. And we don't want to be lost like that for 400 years. Yeah, we don't want us to have to go through that. And the idea that they may have to go through that should be somewhat unnerving.
And, you know, I want to say that, you know, that's part of the systemic ways of America and other governments. And just as we've talked about our freedom for 400 years, what happens is that whenever there's a leader who stands out in the crowd, there's something in this system that says, we've got to quiet that person. Absolutely. So that's why you have your elimination of your Martin Luther Kings and your Malcolm X's and other leaders that stood up and said, we're going to make a change. And so systems across the globe stop progress when they see that the mass of people are fighting against the 1%ers. They throw everything at us. They say, together we stand, divided we fall. And so the freedoms of America have been, those movements have been squashed because mostly of money. Absolutely. The first thing you do to stop a movement is you find someone in the crowd that you can pay to go and destroy it. And that's what they did when the Black Panthers were moving forward. They infiltrated with drugs, you know, right. brought the whole movement down. So we've got to be able to do some covert actions, know who you're bringing to the table, because there's
Yeah.
always a spy in the mist that
Yes.
is sent by someone to destroy that movement. And so, yes, it's a lot of things on the table because we are dealing with a multiplicity of complexities, and it doesn't make it easy. When you're looking at young people, there's like, what's wrong with y'all? And statistics have shown that these millennials and Gen X's came out and stopped this democracy from falling. And so when we ask the question, where are we in this democracy? Some people was like, well, screw the government. Okay, well, you got a lot of people that get food stamps, Social Security, Section 8, all kind of benefits. And if those are not the things that we can look at and say, hey, look, that's part of our reparations, but only a small percentage.
Because
You've got people right now, you've got just like the Chinese Americans, they were attacked. And the next thing you know, there's a bill that says that if any harm comes to them, that's a federal offense. But yet we were being attacked every day.
Every single day.
And it did not matter. And so we've got to change the narrative, make the demands, give the commands, put the right people in place. That will make a difference. We've got every ward in this city. Say you got a ward that's got 20,000 constituents. That alderman only needs 5,000 people because the other 15,000 are going to stay at home. And so when we talk about what changes that we need in our community, we've got to bring young people to the table. Because I'm telling you, I've been doing this community work, and I'm always looking at young people and putting a buzz in their ear and like, you know what, you need to be at this table. You need to come to the table and give your input. And so we've got more of that happening, because when you think about someone who may lose their freedom, if they understand that, it makes them want to come to the table. And so it's going to take our young people to have an interest, because that's the one thing that you can do is bring a young person or anybody to the table and they're not interested in the dialogue. So I don't just want you at the table. I want you to give input, dialogue, mix and match, and let's see what we come up with. And I'm going to tell you, when we listen, they're brilliant. So we just got to keep nurturing. And this is nothing new. Martin Luther King was 21 when he came on the scene. Malcolm X, all of these young men were in their 20s. And so these are the people we need to be looking at and saying, what's your opinion? Because we're not going to be around to carry these things out. And so it's going to matter how we vote. It's going to matter what we talk about. It's going to matter how we bring young people to the table so that they can understand and work with us and not against us.
Background. Lavette, hi.
Yeah.
We want to go back to reparation.
Yeah.
You were saying that part of our reparation was, you believe, is the Section 8 government programs,
Food
stamps.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is that correct? Part of our reparation?
And I say that because whatever resources that allow us to repair ourselves, yes. So however, just like the Japanese when they were interned, they received funding.
They received reparation. We never received any kind of reparation for it.
And that's right. And go ahead.
I'm listening and I hear the terms about link and food stamps and this, that, and the other. Well, I think we need to kind of correct a few things because food stamps and all that assistance started in World War II, I'm sorry, as a means to support the white way of living for white women while their husbands were away at work.
At war.
Okay, at war. Now, I think the biggest problem that we face, we're under the premise by society to think that the majority of people that's on public assistance are Black people. I beg to differ because 2/3 of people receiving public assistance are Caucasians, not Black. And that's where society get us and start making us feel very small and minute about ourselves. That should be corrected. That
Now, what,
and
when you say we feel small, what do you mean by that?
that comes back to in terms about our self-worth and who we are. If you're seeing that and if you're hearing that day by day, that's almost like a systemic brainwashing to you as part of a so-called society.
But what is the difference then if a white person is a resource to me? It doesn't matter because listen, you got folks that get a credit card that have food stamps on it. You never know. So a resource is a resource no matter what pot it came out of. If it is going to help, if it's going to, it doesn't necessarily have to meet just food stamps. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying whatever resources that are available to us should come to us. And the thing is just like you were saying about all these other folks that's receiving these funds, this is allowing them to rise above the rest. And listen, hold on though.
Okay.
When we're talking about other folks getting housing assistance, business grants, all of that is part of what we need to be demanding that our politicians set aside for us. Just like DACA, there's a group of people that fought for these immigrants to get educational funding. Right, so who's fighting for us? So a resource is a resource, no matter what you call it, is going to allow you to sustain yourself. So we don't need to get hung up on it if it's link or if it's whatever it's called. It's a resource. And we need to demand that.
Excuse me. We're not talking about that. We're going back to the statement that was made that this was a part, this was a part of our Reformation. And this reparation, I'm sorry, but this is not that. That's not a part of reparation. We're the only people that has never received reparations from this country.
Right, and I'm not saying that it is reparation. I'm not saying that. No. I'm saying that whatever resource that is available for us, it does help us repair. Now, how we're owed billions of dollars. So yeah, we're owed billions of dollars. We know that nothing has repaired us to the point of how we should be repaired based upon the detriment of our ancestors. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's all, that's it, that's all that we need, that's all that we have coming. But I'm saying that there are resources, and even those resources, they just said today, those resources, they are twisting the government right now to deny all of that.
We're just trying to be clear.
So that's even the Republican Party, they're talking about taking all of that away. And so we do need to have the narrative about what that reparation looked like. How do we get it? How does that help us maintain our sustainability? How does that help us pull ourselves up? So I'm not arguing. I'm just only stating that whatever resources that are available for us, whatever repair that needs to come to us, we need to continue to have the conversation and make the demand, because us talking about it is not giving it to us, it's not bringing it to us. And so we do need to make that narrative and make that demand. In Springfield, this is what they said. They related it to reparations. And they said, well, we're gonna set aside this money. This was back in the spring. We're gonna set aside this money. They called it a part of reparation, but they said it's gotta be in healthcare, it's gotta be in work development, and it's gotta be in, it was another category. Then that means that now you gotta jump through the hoops to get that. And so there needs to be some kind of $1 billion fund that says the check is in the mail. Because other than that, we'll still have to jump through every hoop like a seal clapping to get funding, programs, projects. And so we're in a quagmire because everything that we do comes with so many stipulations that at the end of it, you don't even qualify. And I say that because even housing funding for people that were discriminated against. I know some young people, not even young people, but some people that's been waiting a long time for that housing repair. And when it came time for them, they said, we got 6 weeks to find a house or to find a living or find an apartment. And if you don't do that in that 6 weeks, they take it from you. So where do we stand in our unity and our voice to demand from those people that we put in office to give us that reparation and to give us the freedom that we deserve?
Okay. Sandra, you had a response. Your hand is up.
Yes, hi. I was just gonna again respond to what Lavette was saying and what Rosa's sister was saying, and based on my interpretation, I understand exactly what Lavette was saying when they say, because they are identifying that your politicians, some politicians nationwide, are looking at those programs as a form of reparation because it's a resource that was once denied many Blacks. Again, and I understand what Rosa's sister is saying about their stigma, but that's something that's unique, again, to a particular group and a particular generation. Because, and you shouldn't feel bad, because let me tell you, and that's something that Lavette didn't mention, but when they brought the Koreans over in the 70s, when they allowed the Africans and the Middle Easterners, and they brought so many from Palestine, Palestinians, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, all of them, when they came over, they get food stamps. And they get thousands of food stamps. The Mexicans that came in were South Americans that came in. That's one of the first things that was given them. That was given to them before they received housing and before they received medical care. So it is considered a resource. Is it part of the reparation that Blacks were asking for when it came to slavery and what went on after slavery? No, that is not what they considered. But as time goes on, this is what they're looking at, because again, this is something that you have to qualify for, and that many Blacks were denied. The other thing that I wish people would learn is that the reparation that Japanese people received was an insult at best. To give them $25,000, and for those who were living, I mean, I think they gave it to maybe 75,000 people?
45.
45.
I think
See,
it was
is that,
45.
and it was more. And if you look at all of them who were arrested, the property and the value of the properties that they had that were taken from them back in that time, it exceeded the $25,000 that Reagan offered them. Their stuff was more valuable then. And had they been able to run their businesses without that interruption, that discriminatory practice, they would have been millionaires. So when you're talking, they have not given anybody any reparation.
Thank
Because
you.
giving me $25,000 ain't jack. You don't.
Right.
You gonna give me something that's gonna be meaningful. What the heck can we do with $25,000 today? Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing.
So again, that's why the conversation and the young people, as well as us, need to be at the table. Because
Yeah.
again, for the
Yeah.
shenanigans, stop the shenanigans. I agree. One thing that is always going to have value and it's going to always appreciate, I don't care how slow it may appreciate, that's going to be land.
Here they have a percentage of.
That's going to be land.
Well, I'll
money
tell you,
ain't gonna mean
I'll just
nothing.
say this. I'll just say this. I wasn't saying that it was an honorable
understand what
thing
you
that
were
happened
saying.
to the
No, I understand
Japanese,
what
but
you were
guess
saying.
what? No, let me finish. It wasn't so honorable, but I tell you what, it was more honorable than what they've done for Black people. We still
Again,
haven't been acknowledged the wrong that's been
and that
done
was
to
a
us.
political, and that was a
But we haven't
political
received.
move.
We
It was
haven't
not. It
received
was not.
anything.
It was not to right a wrong. That was a political move. It was not done to right a wrong.
Exactly.
It was
I-
not done to right or wrong. And that's
So-
what we're asking for. And they know we're not going to fall for the okie doke, nor did the Japanese. They were highly insulted.
Yeah.
But because
So-
they are a smaller percentage of the population,
Right.
That's
again,
right.
a lot of us weren't even aware of it. But they were highly insulted.
I'm my daddy's biggest dream. Hello. Hello. Can I speak?
Oh, yes, you got the
Absolutely.
floor. Yes, you got the floor.
Let me. If I was talking with my sister, I think every year, each country has an opportunity to send X amount. I think it's 500,000 people a year,
Could be.
or it could be more or less. So when it comes down to Africa, and
Only 2%.
only 2% could come to the United States, of 2% out of that
So when we talk
500,000.
the food stamps.
So-
shit,
Let me say this. Before my dad died, my dad he was a millionaire in his own right. He was a historian. His biggest dream for us, his family and his grandchildren,
citizenship.
was to buy our citizenship.
Because that meant that you was a part of the United States.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
For him to be able to buy our citizenship from the United States of America.
Mhm.
Because then
Yeah,
we would have been what?
legal
Legal
and accepted.
and accepted. He
and
wanted to
not
be the
covered by the
first
Constitution.
and not covered by the Constitution. That was my dad's dream.
Wow.
We wouldn't be a
We
part
wouldn't be a
that
part
25
of that 25-year evaluation, none of that. We would have been the first Black in this country. Was
All
that
right.
powerful?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Anthony, you had a comment.
That's powerful.
I put some stuff in the chat. I'm listening to everything that has been said, especially the whole issue of reparations. There's going to be the State of the Black World Conference, number 5, April 19th through the 23rd in Baltimore, Maryland. The theme is Global African Rising, Empowerment, Reparation, and Healing. HB 40, the Dr. Ryan Daniels, they want President Biden to sign an executive order creating the Commission on Reparation. we have waited too long for this process to take place. And we got more Black folks in Congress that should be fighting for this issue. That's all I need to say. Check out the website. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This has been a very vital conversation. I really appreciate all that has been shared. We're out of time. Maybe we need to do a part 2. But I put in the chat what the United States says is our rights. Check it out. See how close we come to any of that stuff.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and see you tomorrow.
All right.
right.
Then.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.